There's a rule in business. Good, fast, or cheap. Pick two. But in credit repair, most companies give you the worst of the two. Cheap and slow. Today, I'm exposing how these companies manipulate Google with fake authority, why automated tools like Smart Dispute AI, Dispute Beast, Dispute Panda even, are getting flagged in just a cheap and lazy way to repair your credit, and how the government finally sued the godfather of credit repair companies, the godfather of credit repair scams, Lexington Law, and what other companies are following that culprit. Companies that you've most likely seen, used, or about to use is absolutely no different than Lexington Law, other than their difference in logo, website design, and their physical office location if they have one. So this video is going to save you a lot of time and money that you could spend elsewhere, like this video. So if you're serious about fixing your credit fast, this is the only video you need to see. Here's a principle they teach in every business school, the project management triangle. You can only pick two out of these three: fast, good, or cheap. If you want it fast and cheap, it won't be good. If you want it good and cheap, it won't be fast. And if you want it good and fast, it definitely won't be cheap. Credit repair is no exception, but look at how most companies market themselves. They are all monthly fee prepaid services like $50 a month, $70, $79 a month, and they are limited to those structures only. But then they drag it out for 12 months, sometimes even 18 months. You're not paying for results, you're paying for time. That's the game that many don't understand. Let's talk about how specific companies like Lexington Law, Sky Blue, Credit Saint, and other dominate Google. Go search for best credit repair companies and look at the top results. You'll see Money.com, NerdWallet, you'll see Forbes, and even USA Today. But none of these companies are credit repair experts. Did you notice that? They're media publishers, and what they're doing is called Parasite SEO. Parasite SEO means they attach their content to a high authority domain so it ranks high in Google, even if the content itself is just affiliate garbage. Every time you click a link, they get paid. So who's really at the top of the list? Not the best companies, just the best paying ones. This isn't illegal, but it is deceptive. You're not being shown results. You're being shown advertisers. Now let's spot the companies that are using Parasite SEO tactics to incentivize news companies to fool you into thinking that they are the best when they're actually not. The best according to who? The people that are being paid to say it, for one, and the mere fact that all of the companies you see on these listicles have just copied Lexington Law's mold. Where's the proof? Let me show you. Let's rewind the clock. Lexington Law was the godfather of the industry. Most think they started in the early 2000s, but they go all the way back to the 1980s. And you even have sources that say as early as 1991. If they have been able to fool you on the years they have been in business, imagine how much else they could fool you. And they surely did for many years. Guys, here is a screenshot from an article that somebody from Paystub wrote. Who is James Wilson? Well, he's right there. And to my point, and I know this because I've been doing credit repair since 2011. Not only was I mentored by one of the original founders of the pioneers of Lexington Law, one of the founders, and I keep his name off this channel because that's what he requested. Currently, he is not the owner, and that's pretty important. I keep his name secret because why else would Lexington Law hide the fact they started in the late 80s or even 90s? I'd say that's pretty smart of them to do so for multiple reasons. Some people could be witnesses to court cases, like the billion-dollar court case they had. More liabilities such as, but not limited to, monetary damages. Because in case you guys don't know, Lexington Law was sued for billions from the CFPB. And it only adds more billions if they can prove it was open longer. Or anyone else that was involved in their Ponzi scheme when they actually started in 2003 or before that. They built the credit repair machine of mailing dispute letters. They built the credit repair machine of mailing dispute letter templates that came into scale so high that the bureaus created AI dispute letter detection systems. In fact, the bureaus were some of the first financial companies that used AI. If you want to know more about the AI they use, you can watch this video right here, where I take a deep dive on why you shouldn't use LLM models like ChatGPT or Smart Dispute AI or even dispute-based. It worked for them for about 16 years, but not for consumers. They made hundreds of millions, in fact, billions, but in 2019, the FTC came after them hard for deceptive marketing, fake reviews, misleading statistics, and for just plain out yielding no results. Because they stood behind the business model of proclaiming they can help everyone. Let's stop here for a second. Help everyone? Well, shouldn't a business help everyone because they can save everyone, right? Well, this industry doesn't work like that. For one, if the person is habitually delinquent and there is no violations on the report, there is nothing anyone can do to save them. And in my business, Pinnacle Credit Repair, that's how we conduct ourselves. Because without judgment of these people, by the way, we understand how financially irresponsible people are, and their credit reports may be a great indicator of that. So unlike all the other companies you see in those listicles written by people that were bribed to say great things, we carry great discernment and discretion of who we work with, because in full honesty, credit repair, meaning the act of filing credit disputes to remove negative accounts from credit reports, isn't and doesn't work for everyone. What ensures the success of our clients, thoroughly vetting them and qualifying them to know if we can actually help them, and this is even required by the Credit Repair Organizations Act. And it's because companies like Lexington Law and many others that spend so much money on aggressive marketing and advertising and just so you can sign up so they can get paid. And this is without fully assessing the likelihood of success to begin with. Their greed has fucked up our entire industry. So for years and years, you could remember, especially if you have worked with them before, because you would have gotten a settlement payment like this in the mail months back in the early parts of 2025. Now, if you've hired them in the early 90s, your experience with them would most likely be positive, meaning their speed, effectiveness, and customer services, because that was before the buyout and the greedy partners took over. My mentor was one of the original founders, and excuse me, the credit repair genius, and his son as well, for that matter. His son is amazing at fixing credit. I've actually worked closely alongside them, and it was definitely a pleasure. So for years, the truth began to pile up, and around after the financial crisis of 2008, they got even more popular, and people began to figure out how much they really suck. Whether that was because they took on clients they shouldn't have because their file was unfixable, or they were just slow and shitty. They began a massive restructure campaign and scrubbed their online presence, hired PR firms, and bought reputation management services to hide the truth. And they did it pretty well. How did they do this? They bought out companies and domains and bribed so-called consumer advocate companies to say nothing but good things. But the internet doesn't forget the damage. The damage is already done. They actually technically got sort of real reviews in a very slick way. They had some real reviews, kind of, sort of, but they did it in a really slick way. Basically having people give them a 5-star review based upon the customer service client acquisition or consultation. Meaning they didn't even get these people results yet, but considering they were really sweet on the phone, and that enabled them to get people to write them 5-star reviews just based upon that phone call. And we've seen this through multiple reviews, by the way. How they were written tells you flat out. Parasite SEO tactics flooded most of the search results to basically bury all the bad reviews they had on multiple other sites, and they did this by sheer money. So by now, I'm sure if you're a man or woman of logic and reason, the evidence is pretty clear. The evidence is pretty clear that Lexington Law is garbage. So now for the most important question, because this is relevant for today and who you decide to work with. What if I told you Lexington Law's demon spirit exists in the form of companies masked by other names? Like just having the same ownership, changing the logo and brand, but literally doing the same exact shit, but more cleverly and perhaps less aggressively.